So good to see you.
I know, it's always nice to see you and chat with you, Jess. And
Thanks.
welcome everyone who's jumping on with us. It's good to have you here. Yeah, well, Jess, you know, it's so funny we haven't actually ever met in person. I feel like I've known you for so long now.
I know it's been years now.
Yeah, we first met over the phone when I was pregnant with my daughter, who's now 5, and you invited me to an art exhibit in Bellingham.
Yes, when I was still up there.
Yeah, and we got to chat on the phone, and it was so fun to connect and learn about your work. And I've really loved, I feel we've both been sort of building as mothers and entrepreneurs and artists, businesses that have been really complementary in delightful ways. And it's just always such a pleasure to collaborate with you.
Absolutely. We make paint and you make palettes. It's a match made in heaven.
Well, I am excited today, thinking about sharing some of our latest collaborations and giving some sneaks of what's to come.
Yes, we have some fun things in store, and it's been so much fun these last few months to be working on these secret collaborations, and it has been amazing to see them finally coming to life after ups and downs and bumps in the road that this strange year has brought. So
I know. And may 2021 be healthy and peaceful and smooth for us all.
I sure hope so.
Yeah. Here, hang on. This little one's making trouble. Do you have any? This is one of my studio beasties, Rosa. She's bopping around little toys she's found on the floor. All right, cat. Well, should we show the calligraphy palettes?
Yes, let's do. We'll pop over here and get this turned around.
I'll jump to my desk too.
And I have a very strange little setup, but I think it's going to work.
Oh, it looks good. Go. Oh, and the lyrics
just a couple.
Turned out so lovely.
I love the way they turned out. They're so fun. So we'll save this one for a little later. We'll be right there to show you pretty soon. But so yeah, we in this kind of round of collaborations, it's been really fun because we each got to imagine the same concept a little bit differently, but using your palettes and our paints. And so this was our kind of calligraphy inspired collaborations. So we did a 14 color palette here called the Tidier Than Traveling with Bottles of Ink set, because I'm not so much into brevity. And I love the way you came up with just doing the 4. It's like I'm not so much with the brevity in words or in art supplies. I want them all. But sometimes limitation can just be the best catalyst for creativity. And so I love that you just chose the 4.
Yeah, we've sort of got the big sister and little sister here. So with your 14 colors, you've got like a whole range of blacks and the silver, gold, white, ochres. And what was the inspiration for this idea, Jess, of the calligraphy palettes?
Honestly, there were a couple different concepts I was kind of exploring. One is the idea of like having a color collection, all of, say, the blacks that we make in one place. And one reason I like doing that is because it's so fun to highlight and contrast the different characteristics, because it's easy to say just by looking at them that, oh, it's all just blacks. What's the big deal? What's the big difference? But every single one of these has a different set of handling characteristics, a different personality, and different hue variations. Some are going to be warmer, some are going to be really neutral, some are going to be kind of cool tones, some are going to have tendency to granulation or flocculation. And so I really love switching between the different colors, using different colors for different things.
I love
And
it.
so that was one part of the concept. The other is, so we both know Lindsay Bugby of the Postman's Knock, and she is the one who really introduced me to using watercolor for calligraphy, because if the pigment particles are fine enough, then you can use watercolor in your dip pen, which is so much cleaner and tidier than traveling with bottles of ink. I speak from experience. It's a disaster.
Oh, I feel you.
So instead of having like a collection of different bottles of ink, you can simply travel with something that is this small and concise. And then these amazing dip pens have caps so that you can travel safely without, you know, stabbing your thigh or ruining your carrying bags. And so between these supplies, all of a sudden you can do calligraphy on the road, cross-hatching, sketching. So that was really the long answer for how I came up with this palette. All of our blacks that we currently make and all of the other colors that either resemble inks or are really fun to use for calligraphy.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, and in choosing the four, we went down to some of the essential, and I think on our toolkit, I think we've got just 13 of these left. We made 100, and so if anyone's interested, these are here for just a little more time. In this little one, since it's such a smaller space on the mixing area, we put in this lower pan, so it's a white mixing pan, and chose the black and a brown ochre, gold, and white. And something I was curious, Jess, if you might want to demonstrate, is how to load up an ink pen, the nib with watercolor.
Absolutely. So this, I like to use these Zig Brush 2.0 water brushes. So let's see, I'm going to load it up with gray ochre. And so the trick that Lindsay from the Postman's Knock taught me is you want to mix until you get this kind of creamy consistency. And so when using watercolors, it can really help if you spray down your watercolors first to kind of pre-wet them. Like you sell those amazing little pocket misters. So something like that. I started with a completely dry
Here's one of our little pocket misters. This one's labeled because otherwise my stuff wanders off.
I hear that. I do that too. So you just load it on. You don't want to get too much. And I try and load it from the vent, which is the hole that you see right there, to the tip. And you can tell it takes a little bit to really figure out the right consistency, especially for each color. Each color has a different kind of consistency that it's happy with. If you've got too much water, it's going to want to run all over the place. But there we go. And so if you're using a flexible enough nib, you can really vary the width of the line. So you can get thin ones, thick ones, super thick ones. And you can see it's kind of wanting to run out as the tine display right there.
Yeah.
So that tells me I need more paint in there and potentially a little bit of a thinner consistency. So it just takes a little bit of practicing around with to really get a feel for it.
It's
but
so
I feel
fun.
like you can hit a nice rhythm doing that.
Well, I have to say this project has made me really excited to sort of play with my calligraphy and dip pens again, because a long time ago, I love dip ink. I used to, sketch with a chopstick or a stick when traveling, and found my my old nibs. And you can see some of them are not in the best of condition. And when I found my old box, I found a mouth harp that I think a friend of mine in Tibet gave me too. Just a little.
Oh my goodness.
It's fun, the little relics we collect in our art supplies that
Oh,
pop up.
seriously. Oh, I'm the same way.
Jess, what is the nib you're using?
This is a Tachikawa, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing that wrong. A Tachikawa G comic nib.
Mm-hmm.
They make these wonderfully flexible nibs for comics specifically, but they are wonderful for calligraphy, especially if you're beginning. Because sometimes the more flexible nibs for beginning calligraphy, it can just be difficult to really get your line variation down. It can be easy to press too hard too fast. I know Lindsay prefers the Nico G. The Tachikawa, I believe, is considered the most flexible of the three, while the Zebra G, I believe, gives you the thinnest upstrokes, but most people really can't tell the difference.
Oh, beautiful.
So
one of my next questions from a more calligraphy perspective is paper you found more successful or working with Lindsay.
It's interesting. I haven't really come across a favorite paper yet. Let me grab the one I used to do the examples on. I have a traveler's journal that I got from Two Hands Papery in Boulder. Love that store. And I used, there is a sketchbook because you can buy different inserts, and so I have been using the sketchbook version, and so that's what I did the sample page on, using all the different colors. And I liked it. It worked pretty well, but you can see it's like some funky stuff. The nib would kind of snag on the paper a little bit. And so this one that I'm using here is hot press arches. And so it's nice and smooth, but very absorbent. So I would generally recommend something like a Bristol or a smooth multimedia paper.
To really allow that pen point to really glide.
Exactly. But you can kind of see here that, you know, even though these are all technically blacks, they're very different. I tend to think of lamp black as being my very favorite to use for calligraphy because it is neutral and it has an incredibly powerful tinting strength. Whereas the one I've been using, the gray ochre, it's much softer. That's this one.
Oh, beautiful.
It's softer, it has a lower tinting strength, and so it's just not going to quite have the same oomph. What's been your favorite one so far to use?
Well, so out of our 4 colors, I wanted to share a paper I use a lot in my sketching with fine pens. So I'm one of these artists that loves scritchy, scratchy pens is how I describe them. And to the chagrin of some of my sketching buddies, they might hear my pen sort of, scritching and scratching on the paper. But I love the feel, kind of the tactile feel. And with these colors, particularly the gold and the white, I found having a toned paper just works beautifully. And my 2 favorite toned papers are, one is Arches makes, I believe it's a printmaking paper called Arches Cover.
Yes, I love
in a
that.
cream. Oh, I love it. Yeah, it's really soft. Like I take it traveling too, and so it doesn't have as much what's called sizing as some watercolor papers. So it won't take like really repeated washes, but it's just delightful to work on, and a very light tooth. And then another paper I really enjoy that I'm looking forward to playing with more is there's a whole line of papers, and I'm probably going to pronounce this incorrectly, but Canson Mitint or Mitiente.
I looked that up one time, and the computer automated thing goes, Mitantes. So they just for whatever that's worth.
Whole colored line, and it's a fairly lightweight, I'd say maybe more like 90-pound paper for marketed for pastels, and I find it just beautiful for like quick watercolor sketches and use with ink. And similar to this, Canson is the Arches cover, you know, the toned, you get to build those light values up and have this overall warmth that goes through. So that's been something in my own work I really enjoy.
I would agree with you. I've used the Mitons paper as well for watercolor. While I don't feel like it can take tons of moisture, I really love using it for watercolor because of that tooth.
Yeah, and I think your brown ochre has just this, it's so warm, it reminds me of a walnut ink, and dilutes just beautifully out. So that's been something I'm really excited with. And I love the limited palette where you can play with, you know, a monochrome sketch, or just really focusing on values like the lights and darks of what you're looking at, and pull out little highlights. So sort of limiting some of the choices that you have. And I love that both these palettes just really focus on those darks and warm ochre browns.
Yeah, I feel like the kind of sepia walnut look that you can get from Cassell Earth, as well as the brown ochre, is really fun. Are you familiar with the Stonehenge Aqua Cold Press Black paper?
Oh no,
I actually
haven't
just
tried that
got
before.
this and have been so excited to try it with the new titanium white that we've just released. Let me see if I can get some of that. You know, when you wash off the nibs, I usually just keep a little container of water nearby, dip the nib, and you can see the black watercolor coming off of it. And then you can use really a handkerchief or a cloth is better, because with paper towels you can get some of those fuzzies. But I, of course, left mine at home, so I'm going to make do with a paper towel. But you can just clean it off. And the nice thing about watercolors, it cleans up really easily, so much more easily than a waterproof ink. Another thing that I love about these pen holders is that you can see they take a crow quill and a regular size nib.
Oh, beautiful.
Which is amazing.
I'm gonna have to get my hands on those.
Yeah, I'll have to send you one, because another nice thing, okay, I'm gonna geek out on this for just a moment. So they have the cap, which I talked about, and they also have this tab right here that keeps it from rolling off the table. And this doesn't at all look like it would stick on the end, but they designed it just impeccably so that you don't lose your cap if you're traveling.
Tachikawa, that sounds Japanese too. They do such wonderful pen and brush design.
Yes, I'm kind of obsessed. Okay, and also I know people generally have questions about how do you clean a water brush. If you have a water cup, which you don't need when you travel with these, you can just dab it off like that, or you can just squeeze some water out, push it across your paper towel or hanky or your pants or whatever, and it gets more or less clean.
And these are my favorite towels to use, the blue shop towels.
Oh, the shop towels.
Rinse them out and reuse them, and they're really soft.
Those are great. I was just using them for cleaning my sewing machine. I hadn't thought to use them with watercolor.
All right, so tell me again, this is that Stonehenge paper?
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
This is the titanium white. We don't often do synthetic pigments, but titanium white, it's a bleached natural pigment. It's bleached rutile. It is not a terribly environmentally friendly process, but it is so opaque. I have gotten tired over the years of carrying a tube of gouache, and I wanted a much more opaque white than eggshell or barite. And so I broke down and we finally made a titanium white.
So do you think you might ever do another release of these 14 color calligraphy?
I would love to. If you're game, I'm game.
I think we could work with that. So really I think our newsletters, that's always the best spot to hear about what's coming up.
Let's see, I don't have the consistency quite dialed with the new white.
Mm-hmm.
Just haven't been using it long enough.
Always takes a little time to get to know a new palette.
Exactly. It's kind of like making a friend.
Run it through its paces.
There we go.
Carry it around. Beautiful.
Exactly. So it is quite opaque. I love it. But I just want to say how much I enjoy the new black palettes that you have. They're just so perfect for a calligraphy set.
Oh, well, thank you.
So
and
pretty.
I'm really delighted with the small package and really the like essential 4 colors. I think sometimes that idea of choices and just simplifying and challenging some of the mixes we get, which kind of leads me to wonder if you want to do a sneak soon at some of the projects we've got in the works.
I think I can be prevailed upon to do that.
Actually, before we do that, I wanted to mention a couple more calligraphy things, is some resources. I am not a calligraphy expert, and this whole project has really inspired me to want to develop my calligraphy skills. And your friend Lindsay from the Postman's Knock has just some incredible resources, and I know on her website she's got a whole section on using watercolor with calligraphy. And I'm really excited too that Art Toolkit, we are in the works of putting together some workshops with some other instructors. And so this is the first I've mentioned this at all. So you all are the first to hear. We had a couple of weeks ago, Amanda Reed, a wonderful calligrapher in Austin and Texas, and she's going to be joining us. These are some of my practices from our demo. She'll be joining us for a brush lettering workshop, so working with brush versus dip pen. So I'm really excited for that to come up and keep exploring a little calligraphy and thinking about how we can integrate calligraphy into sketching, just both kind of the calligraphic marks and working with dip pens, and then the fun of lettering and kind of telling a story, and having your journal and sketchbook be a record of your experiences.
Absolutely. That's so cool. I love that approach. And I feel like there's just so much to explore in crossover mediums.
Mm-hmm.
When you can take something, whether it's the tools or a technique from one medium into another. And I feel like that's really exactly what these palettes allow you to do. You can incorporate text into your watercolor, you can expand your journaling practice, you can bring cross-hatching and sketching into your watercolor, you can use, a dip pen instead of a micron to do your outlining.
Mm-hmm.
The possibilities are endless. That sounds like a great collaboration between you two, though.
And before we move on, do you think you'll have more of the Tachikawa pens in stock soon, Jess?
Yes, actually, I got distracted. We have 10 more of these, and we just got a new shipment of these in, and I meant to reload them in the shop before our live session, and I forgot because 2020. So once we finish, I'm going to load those in the shop.
Fabulous.
So we'll have both of those again, and then you've got what, 13 more of yours?
Yeah, I think we've got 13 of our little demi calligraphy palettes, and we just got in our inserts, so we'll be shipping them ASAP. And just love
those are so
love
cute.
how they all came together.
Yeah, and that calligraphy is gorgeous. Was that your friend that did that?
Yeah, this is a friend of mine in town. I thought I really need some calligraphy on this, and she put that together for me, and it's one of my inspirations. I feel like I actually want to give her a quick shout. Well, I'll put up a post. I have one of her pieces in my studio of Listen. She does these Lindsay Wayland, just really beautiful calligraphy art painting sort of pieces that I love. So I'll post up a photo and give her a shout out.
Nice. That's fun. Let's see. I will start clearing a space for round 2. Total sidebar. I just love the way paint water ends up looking halfway through its use.
Don't you sometimes just love like the way that your little test papers or towels and things end up looking, or like the splatters, the abstractions that happen on your palettes?
Oh my goodness, yes, I save all of these.
You and the palette bag too. I remember once you posted one of your pocket palette bags, and I just thought,
yes,
wow, I never thought to do that. And
that's one of my favorite things about the bag is that you can use it. I've already started in on this one. You can use it to blot your paint, so you can travel with one last thing. So,
one less thing. That's kind of a theme,
right? Especially when you're traveling, it's like anything you can leave behind. I know some people who are really serious climbers or backpackers will cut all of the tags out of their clothes just to save a couple extra grams.
Yeah. And out of that too is the big story of like what you have with you and available is what you're going to use. And so in trying to keep it small and compact so you can keep it with you and have that no excuses.
Well, that's what I love so much about your palettes. It's a no excuses thing. You can't fail to justify carrying something like this, because when it's something as simple as palette, brush, and maybe even just a set of postcards, it's like this can fit in your back pocket literally, so there's no reason not to bring it with you and be creative. It's like a rubber band. You're set to go.
Just reminded me of something fun we just put together again for the holidays too. We just put these on our website and we're going to post up them on Instagram tomorrow, but we call them the demi card pack
packaging.
Yeah, this wonderful woman letterpress them for us, and this little coin envelope. So they're little 10 pieces of a watercolor paper, Canson Montval, fairly smooth tooth, but 140 pound. So just a little opportunity for working on a small scale and having some little paper all set to go. So we did a little run of these just for fun.
That's brilliant. I love that. Do you usually use the Canson Montval?
I use it. I sort of alternate a bit. It's a little bit lighter weight than Arches, so I paint a lot in my studio on Arches cold press paper, which I love. It's got more tooth, and watercolor behaves just beautifully on it. But it dries more slowly. So outside in our pretty humid Pacific Northwest climate, sometimes I find a lighter weight paper will dry a little more quickly, and the Canson will dry a little more quickly. It's a little bit more affordable too than the cold press Arches, heavier weight paper, and plays really nice with ink because there's so much tooth on the cold press Arches that it just doesn't work as well with a pen point. But I found the Canson was this nice happy medium of a little smoother. And I love Anna, the comment that these would make nice little time capsules of putting them together and filing them away. That's a wonderful idea.
I'm gonna refresh my water. Yeah, I love the idea of like a watercolor time capsule. That's great. And then, you're going to be saving this, right? It'll be available later.
We'll put this on our IGTV, and we'll plan to post a little recording to our Learn page as I get myself organized.
Awesome.
Oh, and someone else is asking about our project coming soon. I'll have to, where did I put them? We are working on our big palette. Oh, here's one of my examples. And we have just a few adjustments we're working to make. So this is going to come out sometime in the new year, hopefully sooner than later. But I am so excited about it. It takes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It can take 30 standard pans or 60 little minis
That is incredible.
So,
I almost asked you about it, but I didn't know if you'd officially dropped the word that you were going to be releasing it. I'm so excited. Are you still going to call it the folio?
I think it's the folio. Yeah, I've shared a couple sneaks, and this is just my prototype. So it's coming. It's just everything takes a little more time these days, but I am really excited about it, and I just put this one together for me to start playing with. So
I am pee my pants excited about it. Seriously.
Oh, I know. Think of all the Greenleaf colors you could squeeze in here.
A set of 30, a set of 60.
Yeah.
Oh,
Someone's asking how big it is. It's about a little over 5. It's like 3 1/4 and 5 1/4. And this actually raises a question that I think you're really well equipped to answer, Jess, which is how much paint our pans carry compared to like your classic half pan, plastic watercolor pan?
I actually know because I pulled out the pipette and measured. So a half pan is the same in volume, nearly identical to this. It doesn't look like it would be, but this, I think of it as a flat half.
A flat half, so that's our double.
When we pan these up, we've done multiple tests now, exactly the same volume of paint that we will put in these. And so the dome won't be quite as high because it's just more spread out. There's more surface area on top. But so think of this as a half pan. So then in these, we refer to them here as quarter pans because this is half the size of a half pan and we put in half the volume. And so these I think of as eighth pans because they are a quarter the size of a half pan, half the size of a quarter pan, eighth pan. So that is kind of an easy way. It's nice that it works out that beautifully, that neatly. But so that way you can kind of gauge if you know how long it takes you to run through a color in a half pan, that should let you know how long one of these will last.
And in my experience, people often say, how long will it last? And my answer is, it depends. But working on a small scale, I find a mini pan, our smallest, with watercolor can really last, working, say, in a moleskin sketchbook. And, maybe there's a color like a sky blue I might be using a whole lot and I might want a little extra pan. But, even if I'm out for some weeks, I'll find that the color can really, really go on. So I love how you've got that great comparison to the half pan. Thank you, Jess.
Yeah, that's just kind of for volume. And I completely agree. It's like, it depends too on like, sure, the size of what you're doing and how you use the paint. Are you doing washes? Are you doing details? But also it depends on what pigment is in there too. It's like, does it have a high tinting strength or a low tinting strength? Because if you use a lot of white, the white you use has a low tinting strength, you're going to just blow through that color. And so that always leads me to determine out what sizes I want of different colors. Sometimes if I'm testing a color, I'll buy a half pan or make a half pan. And if I use through it quickly, I'll upgrade as a reward to a full pan. So this is a different palette that I carry around. And this one, I have put in full pans of colors that I tend to go through quickly and shells of colors that have a really strong tinting strength. Like this is violet hematite here. So it's like you just don't need that much of it. So that's kind of one way that I'll determine what I carry.
So Jess, I see a really wonderful question saying, how can you refill your palettes with the Greenleaf and blueberry colors? And we've been talking about this a little, and
we've been hatching plans so that you will be able to refill your colors. Because yes, as it is right now, you would just have to wait for a new set to be released. But coming in 2021, we are going to have individual pans of Maria's available with our colors for sale so that you can replace the colors when you run out without having to buy an entire new palette.
Really excited about this.
Keep your eye out for that. That is the first I've spoken of it, but we are so excited. Working on the packaging right now.
Yes, yes. And oh, I don't know if I should mention this either because it's not 100% set in stone, but we're exploring if we might even sell some of our palettes empty. So then you can, you know, buy pans to fill them up. So those are some of the things that we're thinking about as a company. And we really like working with you, Jess, and collaborating. So we will, I'm
The feeling is
excited to
mutual. We love
keep
working
hashing
with
out all
you
these
too.
ideas. Yeah. So, can you give us a little peek at what we are currently waiting for to arrive in the mail?
Yes.
I've been like checking the USPS tracking every day, and they keep saying, "Oh, it's a delayed," which is just the way the world is right now. But we will have these so soon, and I can't wait.
That has been the story of this year. So we sent the whole shipment of these palettes for our toolkit last week. They should have been there days ago. But what is coming is the tiniest CMYK set.
Oh, I can't wait. Yeah, and then we'll have
and so yeah, it'll have your, what do you call the largest mixing
the
palette?
mixing pan that has the
Mixing
white in
pan.
the bottom. Yeah.
Oh, it's got white in the bottom of it.
So then, yeah, it's the same white surface as the top sticker. So as the top surface. Yeah.
Even better. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I don't have one of those here. So I just have these two pans as the stand-in. But it will feature our CMYK colors. And so for anyone who doesn't know, CMYK, that's kind of represents modern color theory. So cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. And so according to modern color theory, those are the true primary colors. And those kind of relegate red and blue to the position of being intermediate colors. I found this really difficult to believe at first, and I actually kind of wanted to reject it. I apologize that my lighting is not the best for this. But it posts up magenta here, where we're used to seeing red traditionally. Yellow is still the same, and this is cyan, which I still think of it as under the color category of blue, but it's a more specific hue. And with it, you can use magenta and blue to mix, or cyan to mix more what we think of as blue.
Oh, I love it. It's so beautiful. And what a nice range. Does that include the black that you've mixed into those at all? And that
this doesn't have the black. Oh, I wish let me see if I can snag that piece of paper that I've got. So the black is really what allows you to mix any hue, because these are the main hues that you can mix, main kind of categories. So you've got your red and your orange, your greens here, chartreuse, kind of an amber, teal, blue, purple, and mauve-ish right there. And because of the nature of language and etymology, we can debate all day what to really call these colors. But once you start mixing black in, you can really mix any hue. Let me see if I can find a comparative piece of paper real quick. Hang on.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, I'm so excited about these. We'll see if we're able to release them this year. We like to print up little inserts for our palettes. So as soon as we have the palettes, we'll finalize our design for this. And if possible, we might just release it and you know, be able to ship just after, you know, kind of the holiday rush quiets down a little bit, or we might save them for January. One way or another, they'll come soon. I can't wait personally to paint with this set, Jess, because discovering mixing is one of my favorite things as an artist, to really push my awareness of how to build colors, you know, the colors that are opposite on the wheel, complementary, and mixing neutrals is just so much fun.
I agree. It's really eye-opening once you kind of unlock the secrets of color mixing, which if you've just been taught the basic red, yellow, blue primary color theory, it can actually set you off to be really frustrated. For me, once I learned color temperature, my eyes opened to accurately mixing the colors that I wanted to mix and understanding how to use the colors that were in my palette. once I learned modern primary color theory, then I truly felt like I could mix any color. I was really skeptical about it first, though, because I love natural pigments so much. I felt like they were almost under attack, like, oh, you can mix them. And so it's true and false. So what I did to prove myself wrong was these are swatches of some of my very favorite natural pigments in this column. And again, apologies for the not great light. But so this is pipestone, red earth, red ochre, orange ochre, yellow ochre, limonite, green earth 2, celadonite, vivianite, azurite, violet earth, purple ochre, violet hematite, brown ochre, and I believe that is gray ochre. So these were mixed with these colors only.
Oh, that is brilliant.
And so you really do have to have that black, which is gray ochre, in there to make it work, because they just remain too punchy, too high chroma if you're only using the 3 primary colors. And so what's fun, they are included in our Sketchers set, which I made this. And so we have released, this is the Sketchers set. Aurora got to it, so it's been drawn all over with crayons. But that is the other sneak peek, and then I'll go back to color theory. Ta-da.
Oh, so fun. Oh, it's like little candies, little candy box. I love it.
I just love your dummies so much. It is so small.
It's such a fun form factor. Yeah.
And so this collection of colors we are going to be releasing in these sets on Friday. And if we're lucky, if the Postal Service works with us, they should be delivered within the States before Christmas. So limited run, so excited about these. But what's fun about these two, again, it's kind of like what we did with the calligraphy sets. These 4 colors are contained in this set. So you've got the magenta here, the yellow, the cyan, and the gray ochre. And so that's one of the things I love so much about this set. This is the most flexible, versatile palette that we have ever released. It still has your natural pigments and even natural primaries. So it's got red ochre, yellow ochre, and vivianite, which is blue ochre. It's got natural secondaries, so orange ochre, green earth 2, purple ochre, which, yes, you can mix these, but I like them as convenience colors. I use them so much, I want to save the time of mixing them. Absolutely, orange you can easily add to greens to make them look more natural. Purple makes wonderfully natural shadows. And so then you get your tertiary of Cassell earth. Again, I want to save the time of mixing that. And slate I just use for everything. So the mixing possibilities with these two are endless, really. This one can really do anything. And the main difference I think of in mixing, it's like I've mixed matching hues with the CMYK. But, so that's the true part of you can mix any color with the CMYK. The false part is it does not match the characteristics. And so you can see some of these, like, gosh, I don't know if you really can see it that well, but here's celadonite. Yeah, and so celadonite, it has pretty large particles. You can feel it there. It's not quite like a sandpaper, but you can feel those grains, whereas this one, it's completely smooth. And so colors where naturally they want to granulate or show like a variegated coloring, like violet hematite, you're not going to get that in the mixed colors. And so there's not a better or less good way. It's just different. And once you understand how it works and why it works, you know, the sky's the limit for your creativity.
Yeah, I think the beauty of a limited palette is, one, as you learn through sketching, you know, which colors you like, and limiting kind of the number of options you use on your paper, the colors hold hands. But then there's so much to be said for once you know how to mix the colors. If you've got those favorites, then you get the convenience of having them all ready to go. And as you said, you get the really beautiful qualities in learning, you know, what do you really love? And that's part of what I love about watercolors. There's just so much endless, you know, in the world of color, just endless possibilities of things to explore. And, you know, there's the fun of actually doing the sketching, but just the delight of color and discovering all those happy accidents what we can get, especially with like the wet and wet mixing.
I completely agree. I feel like it was interesting. I came to watercolors, I think while I was in the Bellingham Mountaineers. And it's funny because your textbook is the freedom of the hills, and I feel like watercolor like gave me the, I don't know, the freedom of the art supplies or something like that. It's so portable. You know, I was starting to carry around oil paints in the backcountry and stuff, and well, that's just messy and heavy. And watercolors, it's like something as small and simple as this. They're artist grade colors, and so you can create works that you can sell without any compromises to quality, and you know, out of something just this big. It still blows my mind, and it's been years since I've fallen down this rabbit hole.
This was one of my original palettes that I made for backpacking out of Sculpey, and like, oh, and I
love it.
punched holes with the pencil, but it's so heavy, and finding, you know, more colors and.
Here, I'll show you my corresponding version of that. Because I did the exact same thing. I took an old fishing lure tin, and same thing.
Yep.
A bunch of Sculpey and all that. So really fun.
I see a couple questions, Jess. One is just an interesting idea that thank you for the suggestion about if people might ever send in little pans to get refilled. And we'll file that away. I appreciate the idea. Another is if people want to hear when these are being released, you know, time of day, or can they pre-order, or what's the best way for on your end people to try and snag one of these. I'll speak to our company first with our Cmyk. Our newsletter is really the best place to hear about things first. We'll sometimes do sneaks on Instagram of kind of what's coming, and then we go live right before our newsletter. And then usually, you know, we do our best to stock enough that people can get one if they really want one. But with the nature of all these wonderful handmade materials, they do take time. So we do limited editions.
Yes, these take a tremendous amount of time. And so, you know, for the amount of paint that you get, it's possible that they'll seem expensive. We take tremendous pains to make sure that we price everything fairly and accurately. And it's always kind of a miracle once they're finished, because so much goes into them.
Whole lot of love.
Mixing up a little bit of orange so you can see. It gets to just be a wonderful kind of golden orange. But what I love about using these is the kind of tug of war you can do, pulling it back and forth. I wait for kind of what I call the click point when I'm really trying to mix a certain color. And so you can see how it really does go red. There's that point where you reach and it's like a true red.
Oh, it's brilliant.
That's so almost bold. Like a cadmium red.
And so do you find that these colors too are more transparent than some of the earth pigments like you were showing in your chart?
Yes. And they're a hybrid synthetic natural. We bind a synthetic to a natural base. And so they're not going to be really quite like anything else. They're going to have characteristics of both natural colors and synthetic colors. They're really going to have that tinting strength and high chroma punch with very fine particle size that you're used to with synthetics, but they're still going to spread in vein as they dissipate in like a wash. But it's just going to be a little bit different. Let me see if I can show a little bit of what they'll do in a bit of a wash. funny trying to make sure I have everything on camera and still watch what I'm doing.
Oh, that looks
So
quite
great.
transparent. Uh-huh. Oh, I can't wait to play with these, Jess.
I should have sent you some in advance. I can't believe I didn't think, but you can see those veins, those legs
Yeah.
there. So it still does that. It's just, they're just a little different. You'll have to play with them to really get a feel. But here's some other little fiddlings I did. So this is just the pure magenta, pure yellow, and the mixed red, proving to myself that you can mix red. It's strange when you've been taught, you know, from elementary school, something different, how even once the proof is right before your eyes, there can still be that little bit of resistance.
The proof is in the pudding.
Right? So that's the magenta, the cyan, and a mixed blue.
And wonderful warm blue, cool blue example there.
Exactly. I feel like color temperature is so important for understanding blues, because, you know, if someone tried to tell me this is not blue, I'd be like, let's not be such purists about it. Let's just use, you know, I like to think of the primary colors as color categories instead of specific hues, because otherwise you get into these big arguments about what's the color of blue. Is it lapis or manganese or cerulean? And there's no purpose in going down
That's a rabbit hole.
Right? It's
I'd
like you
rather
might
be
as well
painting.
just bring your English professor in for that one.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's see. Let's get this blue going. So these also, they are more staining than natural pigments. And so you're going to notice it takes a lot more squeezing and wiping to get them out of your brush. And even when your brush is pretty darn clean, it's going to stain your brush. Not permanently, but let's see.
Just shows that you've been painting.
Exactly. I love having a dirty water brush. Actually, I love the character. Yeah, the character of well-used materials and supplies. It's easy to be really precious about supplies, especially supplies that you've spent a lot of money on or saved up for, but they will serve you best if they are used and destroyed.
Yeah, I always tell myself before a trip when I start to get worried about, oh, do I have enough paper or paint? I tell myself, wow, if I used up all of this paper or all of this paint, that would be such a good problem to have because I will have done so much painting.
Right? I love to see the pile of, you know, I keep a box of pencils that I've used down to the nub. And as you see sketchbooks pile up, like, have you seen Samantha Dion Baker's pile of sketchbooks? Oh, goals.
Yeah, or Liz Steele just has shelves. I've got a decent cupboard full.
Yep, and it's fun to get new ones. Can be a little intimidating, and it's so fun to finish them. Although sometimes I'm sad to say goodbye to a one-of-a-kind sketchbook. It's kind of like finishing a really good book. You're almost sad too.
Oh.
So let's see if I can get some purple going here. This is, I think, one of my favorite little color mixing magic tricks. So we've reached mauve here. Let's pull in a little bit more blue, and there we're starting to get that violet purple.
Oh, beautiful. Right, and I love that. That's a great technique of mixing one puddle of one color and then the other, and then sort of pulling from both to bend your hue more blue or more of the magenta, help keep your colors a little clean too. Though my palettes always get pretty messy, and to clean the mixing surface, we can just do a quick demonstration at the end, but do a little bit of water. And so I don't clean them often because I like saving the paint for later. Yeah,
because you can do whole other paintings from those. It's kind of incredible. So yeah, you can kind of see here how it goes. All of a sudden you get from purple, there's blue. And it's amazing just the little tiny amount of difference in mixing that will result in a completely different hue. So this is pure cyan. I should just do scans of these. Maybe that light's a little better. So yeah, this is pure cyan here. Whereas that's just got the littlest dab of magenta, and it takes it to that completely different, almost anthraquinone blue.
Yeah, warms it up just that little bit.
Yeah. So I'm so excited that the mixing well is wide on the bottom. I didn't realize that. Or the mixing pan.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Jess, gosh, we are just about out of time. I want to
It
thank
always
you.
goes by quickly talking to you.
Oh, I know. I could just geek out about color and supplies for travel and adventure for hours. And I really want to thank you for demonstrating everything. And I'm so excited about our current collaborations and just can't wait for the CMYK. I'm really excited for the Sketcher palette you're about to release. And
Yes.
everyone too, I just want to say thank you for your support and enthusiasm. Jess and I both run what are truly, small family businesses, and it means a lot to us to have your support and enthusiasm. So I really want to thank you. We have a lot of gratitude
It means
for this
everything.
community.
It helps us employ other really wonderful people and puts food on our tables and keeps our houses warm. It really means everything.
And helps inspire us to keep pushing ideas further and playing with trying to innovate for the ideas that come next. It's just so much fun to keep developing, and really looking forward to the new year, Jess, and everything we have in store.
Me too. Oh, one question I don't know if you answered. Actually, I think we both forgot to answer one question. When do you think you're going to have your CMYK set available?
That is
I know it depends on when they arrive, but
yeah, I'm on the fence. If we do release them this month, we'd probably announce them in like a week and a half. And I'm on the fence if we should get them out before the holidays or not. So I don't know if anyone wants to message me and tell me what they think, if we should do them sooner than later. I'm tempted to, now that we've given the sneak. So I'll say at the latest they'll come within a month. But I have a hunch we might have to just release them earlier because we're so excited about them.
is that going to be through your newsletter that you announce, Instagram, both?
Yeah, newsletter's the best place to hear first. We always share on Instagram, but we like to give our newsletter the first go.
Yeah, Instagram can be a little fickle these days, and so we're the same way. We release on the newsletter, so these will be available Friday. I'm not sure when, sometime in the afternoon. There are always 1,000 little details that have to come together, and sometimes there's the inevitable technical difficulties. So sometime Friday for the demi-sized Sketcher sets, but the newsletter will let you know when the shop is live.
Well, thank you, Jess, and thank you everybody who joined us. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thank you, Maria, for having me on.
Such a pleasure.
Absolutely. I'll talk to you again soon.
Yes,
Bye,
please.
everybody.
Bye, everybody.